All right. Well, I haven't done a whole lot of, top 10 what's going to happen in the future videos. I kind of like and dislike Miss Marvel, so I kind of didn't really want to get into that. The comic book series failed. They tried to make it a thing, and it just really never quite worked. It should never have really. All of the comics, every 10 years, they have to put out a comic book with their IP, with their property there. And if they don't, somebody else can steal it. A good example of that is actually Marvel. So Captain Marvel was a character, and it was owned not by DC, but later by DC. It is a very convoluted backstory. And of course, Marvel is a comic book company, and so they wanted their own Captain Marvel. So as soon as the IP fell out, they grabbed it and made Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel, which I really liked the original Miss Marvel comic book. It sounds silly, but she was a young lady working and at one of the top magazines when Captain Marvel used the nega bands. She was, and at the same time, shot with some kind of ray. She ended up with radiation from that and gaining basically the same powers as Captain Marvel in the comics. That made Miss Marvel. And that was to keep them from having the Marvel family in DC. So the whole thing is very convoluted. Now, flash to the future. Captain Marvel dies of cancer. And so then Miss Marvel took the Captain Marvel mantle. And so now the Miss Marvel mantle got dropped, and Mary Marvel became Miss Marvel for a certain time. When that IP came up again, they created this, I think in the 2000s, Miss Marvel. I liked the series okay. It wasn't great. She was an Inhuman. Now, I didn't expect this at all, but I kind of like and dislike this. I liked a comic book series that was very obscure, and it was called Clandestine. And this isn't about this, but I liked it, or clandestine, I guess you can call it. I don't know. Nobody ever tells you how to pronounce these things, but I always called it clandestine, and it was not like clandestine. It was clandestine, and the reason was Adam Destin was the head of this group. He fell in love with a genie, a djinn, and Walter, and it was told from the standpoint of the kids, and I just kind of liked it, and very few people did. Now, also during the time when this came out, the 80s and 90s, I hate to say it, but I was caught to the flashy stuff. So the first Clandestine book, and maybe I'll make a video about that. But the first Clandestine book had a really cool shiny cover, so I picked it up and I liked it. It was like the X-Men, and kind of like what they tried to do with Shadowcat, where they told it not from the standpoint of the person running the group, but instead from the standpoint of the kids in the group, and I kind of like that. So I've gone on a 5-minute rant that had nothing to do with what I'm doing here. I wanted to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder, and it comes out tomorrow, and I'm excited about that. And so I wanted to do a top 10 of what I think this is going to be about, and some of these things are going to be kind of obvious. So this I believe this movie is going to be based on the Gore the God Butcher series, but I think it's also going to set up some other things. So let's go down. they haven't shown a lot in the commercials, and I have to admit I've been a little bit remiss with that. I haven't watched them closely. I've slowed them down and looked at them a couple times, but I like the way they look. I'm afraid, I'll be honest with you, I'm afraid that all of these new movies are following beats that are a little bit tough. What I mean is, it feels like a kind of a rushed movie, very much like Doctor Strange. I liked Doctor Strange, and I think they really did wrong by leaving out some of the stuff. I think Sam Raimi did an amazing job. I was excited for and liked it, but I think Marvel in general is trying to shorten their movies, and in doing so, they're leaving out a lot, and it's sort of killing it a bit. It's not cool, and I'm afraid that this will be the same way. And I know it's just a fear, but all right. So let's just go into the top 10. So as we go down the list, I think number 1, we are going to have Hercules. Hercules has not been in any of the commercials. Hercules isn't talked about in any way in any of the commercials that I've seen. But for the future of the Avengers and the MCU in general, you have to have Hercules. So I think we're going to have Hercules. Look, we can't just have Thor as a god. We have to have more, and we have to branch out, and this is the way we do that. So, number 1, I think we're going to have Hercules. Number 2, I had written down that we're going to have Zeus. He did come out in the commercials. I'm going to call that as counting, but I'm going to go further than that. Number 3, Zeus is a bad guy. Look, these top tier gods, they oftentimes are bad guys, but I think that Zeus is going to replace Ares as the bad guy in the Thunderbolts and or Dark Avengers. So I believe they're setting up Dark Avengers. I think every movie has a Young Avenger and a Dark Avenger on this whole grouping. So this way we can set up secret wars. And I've said that in other videos. So number 3, we are going to have a Dark Avenger in Zeus. Okay. Number 4, I think we're going to have a Young Avenger. Now, I haven't seen anything in the commercials that points in that direction. Okay, but there will be a Young Avenger. So, Kid Loki was introduced in Loki. Sylvie was introduced in Loki, and those two are the Dark Avengers and the Young Avengers. So in this movie there will be another young god that is released. I don't know how that's going to work out. So it's not somebody I think that we've seen in the Marvel comics. And I think so it's going to somehow be related. I wonder if it's not Gore's kids. I think he had a daughter in the Gore the God Butcher comic book. And I think let's say that the Young Avenger will be Gore, who's now been turned into a god, his daughter or son. And where we have Love and Thunder, that individual will be saved because of love. So maybe with Jane Foster's, that's going to be my next thing here. So number 5, Jane Foster's in the movie. Number 6, Jane Foster dies. She's going to die of cancer. In the comics, what we discover is she has cancer, and she's getting chemo for it, but because she has Stormbreaker, she turns into Thor. Sorry, that's a train here in Tehachapi. She turns into Thor, and now those cancer cells become godly and just beat out the chemo. So same thing will happen here. So that's number 6. She will die. Let's see. So number 7, we're going to have Gore the God Butcher. We know that. Number 8, Gore the God Butcher will die. In the comics, future and past Thor, 3 Thors, so current Thor, future Thor, and past Thor, team up to beat Gore the God Butcher, who had created a god bomb or world bomb. I forget what they call it. So, yeah, Gore will die. What was that, number 8? So, let's see. I think unlike in the comics, so in the comics, Gore turns into a super bad guy. He brings his wife and children back to life, and then kills his wife. The reason he kills his wife is because she says that he's now a god, and he had become a god by killing gods, and he recognizes the fact that she's right and he kills her. I don't think that'll happen here. The MCU has been very good at making bad guys. I think this will be a great bad guy. And so number 8 is number 9 is Gore's gonna have a redemption story, and I think that's how Thor and Jane will adopt Gore's son, and then Jane will die, or daughter. I don't know. So I think that's a number 9. Gore will have a redemption at the end of the movie. You're gonna like Gore. And then number 10, I do think that Jane dying will end up with her coming back to life. So if I remember right, in the comic book, she goes to Valhalla, and then right as that's what happened. She's going to Valhalla, and then right as she's going into Valhalla, Thor, who is now has the Odin Force and has also the strength of the other 2 Thors, they kind of combined. By your power combined, I am Captain Thor. I don't know. But I do believe that Thor is going to be OP'd and bring her back to life. That may not happen in the movie, but it will ultimately happen. There may be like a post-credit scene, maybe with Hercules, and also maybe with her going to Valhalla. I don't know. So she may die, and so you're like, oh, she's dead. And then you see her at the halls of Valhalla, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Well, understand that the next Thor movie or Avengers movie or something, she'll be coming back. So I imagine maybe, she comes back as Thor again. In the comics, he brings her back to life, brings her spirit back into her body. Her body is still riddled with cancer, and I don't think we've seen her again in the comic books. I don't think so, but she is brought back to life, and then she vows to do cancer treatment and not turn back to Thor until the cancer's gone. So I could see that happening in the MCU, where she's brought back to life. I doubt they'll push the cancer part, but I think she'll be brought back to life. I think it'll be maybe a surprise at the end of whatever, maybe in 3 years, when the Dark Avengers are full effect and the Young Avengers are in full effect, and all the big Avengers are off-world in the incursion thing. I think she'll come in and save the day. So So that's how I feel. Those are the 10 things I think are going to happen. I think I'm gonna end up liking the movie, but I think I'm gonna be upset about the movie. So MCU and Disney recently have this big thing where only the girls can kick butt. I don't think they're going to be able to do that with Thor, but I think there'll be a lot of butt kicking from girls. I'm okay with that. Actually, I'm kind of happy with that. In this setting, what I mean is Valkyrie in the comics is a pretty big butt kicker. In the MCU, she's taken the place of Valkyrie in the comics, and also of Angela, who is a battle angel that they turned into Thor's sister or something in the comics. It's pretty convoluted. Again, this is another story where Angela was part of Spawn. She's drawn like Spawn, and then I don't know. They lost. I don't know, the whole thing. I forget the whole thing, but she ended up in the MCU, and then became part of the pantheon of the Thor. Yeah, very convoluted. It's very interesting. But yeah, I don't. So Valkyrie is kind of taking that place. I think the part where we see Zeus in the comics, Thor goes to, I think it's called the Celestial House or something like this. So he goes there, and he goes to the library there and is looking at all of the gods. I guess there's a library that kind of shows all the gods and what they're doing or something like this. And he goes there and he's able to track who died and who Thor the God Butcher is killing. So I think that's what Hercules is there to do that. Maybe Thor goes there to warn these gods. So we may see a whole lot of gods. So I imagine he went there to warn the gods about this coming. I guess I could throw in 11. I think we're going to see so this is a Thor the God Butcher. So this is a guy his vow is to kill all the gods. I think we're going to see some of those higher level beings. We've seen some statues and stuff like that of them in some of the other MCU movies of late, especially. So, like, let's think of some of them. Eternity is one. Eternity is like everything is in eternity, and all of these have kind of a starry look to them. And I think we saw for a millisecond eternity in the second Ant-Man movie. I think we might have seen them in the last Avengers movie. And then also Judge, the Tribunal, the three heads of the Tribunal. We've seen that in the Loki TV series. And so we might see some of these guys. The Beyonder isn't really one of these higher level. It's higher level being, but it's not these entities that are above and beyond God. And we saw that in in the What If TV series. And I think on the first millisecond there, during one of the commercials, we see a couple of them. Lady Death, that was another one we saw. In the comics, Lady Death is kind of who Thanos was trying to woo by getting the Infinity Gems. Let's see. Yeah. Well. Okay. Well, but a bunch of those like that. The Beyonder isn't one of them, but I just recall in the commercial, really quick, you see a place where you see statues for I think it was Lady Death and Infinity and Eternity, and I think we saw the Tribunal. So I think we'll see those in real life. One or more of those. So I would go with Eternity, since we've seen them Eternity in a couple of different ones. I don't think we'll see the others. But so I guess that'll be it. Boy, should have had. I wrote most of this down and then I went off script, guys. That's what happens when you're driving. So I think the movie's going to be really good. It's going to be good, just not amazing. I thought the same thing of Doctor Strange. I thought it was really good. I had such high hopes for Sam Raimi. I think he was pulled in a lot of things because he, if you followed him in Ash, which I really like, Pizza Ball Man. But if you followed them, then you'll know that he can do some really interesting stuff. Or if you watch the Spider-Man movies, some amazing stuff. The shaky cam stuff was kind of cool. I liked some of the shots and everything, but I don't know. I don't feel like the story was perfect. I don't think it was great. I think it was good. All right, guys. Well, let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.